Hey friends, I am here with a wonderful video on how to use triads, 3 colors, usually primary. They don't have to be primary, but triad colors to make beautiful scenes. And there's actually a wonderful watercolor book series by Search Press. Search Press is the publisher, and each artist, there's a couple of different artists that have come up with ways to paint beautiful scenes with only 3 colors. And so when, as an artist, we don't have to have all the colors, and we probably shouldn't use all the colors to paint a painting, but we can use 3 colors. Like this is my one of my go-to primaries, cobalt blue, yellow ochre, and permanent alizarin crimson. I love these colors. They are my favorite. But you can also use, like, this would be like very middle down the road. But if you wanted more of a high key bright, I could use cobalt teal, green gold, and then for my red, it's actually a pink. It's a quinacridone magenta, and those 3 make beautiful watercolors for summer, bright florals. Like, there's so many things you can do. But anyways, I just kind of want to share with you the power of using 3 colors. I personally love all of these books. This one is a compilation of a couple of the Take 3 colors, but Search Press. And on Amazon, this one right now, as I'm filming, the Kindle book is only $2.99. So you can get a really good Kindle book for really inexpensive. And it'll just go through and tells you what 3 colors they use. And then there's the wonderful example of how he starts and finishes the painting. So it's really been a wonderful resource. I love these books, but I'm just going to share with you how I would use some of these colors, and we'll just have some fun playing with watercolor. All right, the first triad that I absolutely love, that I use probably 90 might be a bit much. I at least use it 60 to 75% of the time, is yellow ochre. And I love yellow ochre because it's a very medium yellow. When I say medium, it's just a nice neutral yellow. Some people say it's warm. It probably is on the warm side, but yellow ochre is by far one of my favorites. It's not as bright and it's not as warm as other yellows that I have in my palette. And then alizarin crimson, and I love the 2 together. And you're gonna see probably, I'm gonna mix those 2 together just so you guys get an idea. You get this really pretty peach color, and it's really great for portraits. Yeah, and it can be warmer. It can be on the yellow side. This is pretty red, but I love these 2 for portraits, for skin color. And you can always add like a deeper blue or something. And then I love cobalt. Cobalt is an alizarin, or sorry, cobalt mixed with these 2 are probably my favorite ways to make a green. And I'm probably going to have to just add a little bit of yellow ochre into the, but if you see, the green is just gorgeous, and it's a very neutral green. It's still not enough blue, but it just gets this really pretty green, especially for landscapes. It's wonderful. And so a lot of plein air artists will use these 3 colors, and that's all they need. And they can produce a whole painting on that. And then you also get a really pretty purple too. So anyways, a very neutral purple, perfect for shadows, cast shadows, and for nature. But anyways, the permanent crimson, alizarin crimson, cobalt blue. It's so beautiful, and yellow ochre. And I love using tube watercolor paints because you can get a lot of bang for your buck out of tube watercolor paints. Alright, the next triad that I love is burnt sienna, cobalt blue, and instead of yellow ochre with the cobalt blue, I use Hansa yellow. And I love Hansa yellow because it's brighter than yellow ochre. And I painted, this is the yellow, anyways, it's gorgeous. And you can get some really pretty colors with these 3 colors. And so a lot of greens can work, and all the different variations of green just from these 3 colors. So Hansa Yellow is probably the brightest color, and it is, I call it warm. It is pretty warm. It's not as warm as this burnt sienna, but mixed together, they really get a beautiful, you can really get a beautiful, here's burnt sienna. And yes, you're not going to get a beautiful orange but you do get a beautiful golden color. I just love Hansa Yellow with burnt sienna. And then of course you got cobalt. And those 2 colors together will make these really pretty greens. And then I just add a little bit of burnt sienna to mute down the green if I don't want it. But this was painted with these 3 colors right here. And they're so fun. They're so fun to mix and mingle on your paint, on your paper. I said paint, I meant paper. Anyways, so fun. This is going to be a demo for a library that I'm partnered with. They like me to do their demos for them. Anyways, I'm not gonna edit that out. Okay. My next triad that I absolutely love is green gold. I love green gold. I also love cobalt teal and quin magenta. These 3 are very high key colors, meaning that it's very, very bright. You're not going to get very neutral colors from this watercolor, but what you will get is bright, vivid colors. These are great for florals. These are great for landscapes, for summer landscapes, seascapes even. Like if you're bright sunshine, think sunshine. When I think of high key colors, I think sunshine. and then you'll be in good shape. So if you are a sunshiny girl and you like super colorful things, then this triad might be your new favorite. I have had to buy these tubes often, and this is usually my plein air palette. So I keep the smaller tubes when I'm traveling, right? But green gold, I use green gold so much that it's just worth me having the bigger tube. Anyways, all right, so green gold. Green gold is a yellow, very, very yellow. There's actually some, I believe Hansa Yellow, or it's nickel azel. I think it might be nickel azel yellow, but it's very, very warm. Very, very much like Hansa Yellow, but it also has some ultramarine into it, and so it gives this really pretty yellow-green look. But I use it as a yellow. I also put my yellow at the top because that's my lightest value, and I like knowing my value colors. Anyways, there's the teal. That's a beautiful cobalt teal, very indicative to all the cobalt teals that you'll get. Each manufacturer is a little bit different. And then of course permanent quin magenta packs a huge punch. Now those 3 together might look very much like what a printer would use, and that's why I love this. But if we were to mix these 2 together, you can get this beautiful orangey color. You can kind of see it on my palette. Look at that gorgeous orange right here. Whew, that is so pretty. That would make for a really pretty fall orange. And then if you were to add teal to that orange, then it would dull it down. But look at this green that I make with the cobalt turquoise, if I can get it. Huh, I'm adding too much. Here's the green, and that's still pretty yellowy. I can add a little bit more turquoise to it, but there's that green, and it is so bright and so vivid and so pretty. And then the purple, oh my gosh, the teal with the pink, makes like the best purple. Look at that. It's like blueberry purple. It is by far, you can get so many ranges out of that palette. That's one of my favorites. For summer, I use that often. So these 2 I use a lot. These 2 I can use a lot. This one I use if I am only painting trees and water. I'll use this one because I really love cobalt. But if I am just playing around this is a great triad and this is a great triad, but a good painter doesn't use all the colors. They'll use maybe 4 colors. And when you get to know those 4 colors, they become like your best friend. So anyways, there's one more that I'd like to show you, and that is, this one's kind of a fun one. The Indian red with cerulean and new gamboge. It's very close to this because of the burnt sienna and Indian red. Indian red is iron oxide, and so it's very earthy. It's a very earthy color, and I will use this like if I'm painting nature or animals. I will do that one too. So I will just put this on the page so you guys can see it. There's my Indian red. That's probably more than I need. I love cerulean because cerulean is like this calm, like, it doesn't pack a punch like cobalt. So it's kind of nice. It's actually a beautiful pigment, and it's been sitting for a little while. But cerulean's really pretty. And the new gamboge is a very warm color, much warmer than yellow ochre and Hanzo yellow. Hanzo yellow is pretty bright, but new gamboge is also a very neutral yellow, meaning it can go one way or the other. It could be warm or it can be cool. Alright, so there's my Indian red. Whew, look at that. Look at how pretty that is. And the little goes a long way, so I added way too much on the page. I'm going to try and take that off and put it in my palette and use it for later. Use it for an animal. It reminds me of a fox, but it is very opaque, so it doesn't, there's a lot of, it's not transparent by any means. Alright, and then we got cerulean, and cerulean's just really gorgeous. And again, I put too much on my palette. I'll put it on my palette to use for later. But it's just a lovely color. And then I have new gamboge. And those 3 will make some, if you do Indian red and the cerulean, you're going to get a very muddy purple. I think I added too much red to the blue. But you'll get a muddy purple. That's still pretty red. I added too much red. And not enough blue. It's definitely not going to give you a bright purple, but it gives you a neutral shadow color. A neutral gray is probably a better word for what you were getting. Yeah, there you go. It's a very neutral, shadowy color, but perfect for your landscapes. And then cerulean with the yellow new gamboge is very lovely. You'll get this beautiful green that you can't, and it's not as natural. I would call that this green would be like a summer oak green, tree green, but you can add some of this red right into here to make it a little bit tinter. So anyways, those are my triads that I like to use. Give them a try. Let's play around with them. I'm also going to do a mindfulness video on how I use these triads just to create backgrounds for my cards. Alright, with all of these colors, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you love high key, meaning very bright colors to paint with, or do you like more of a low key or neutral palette? You can tell that I gravitate towards the neutrals, which doesn't surprise me as a Taurus. I love all things natural. It just makes me so happy. So anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have a favorite triad that I didn't use that you absolutely need me to know about? I'd love to hear that too. Anyways, happy painting. I hope this helps you with your color theory and on your color theory journey. And it's fun just to get your paints out and try your different triads. Hello, I wanted to share with you how I'm using triads just in my watercolor card making. So this is like a bonus video. I am adding Indian yellow to my card panel. I'm just letting the Indian yellow kind of just fall around. Like it's just fun to watch the paint. And then I'm going to add some of that yellow, the Hansa yellow that I have. And that's just going to, again, it's already wet, so it's just going to play on and just get some beautiful yellow down. And then once that's dry, I go back with some more Indian yellow, and I just kind of get a bit of a wash going on, and I can manipulate the paper a little bit because it's just wet enough, and I'm just having fun. Once it's dried, I can ink on top of it, and I'm using a micron pen, and I'm just going to draw a pumpkin. In fact, I am growing pumpkins, and some years are better than others. This year was okay. I wish I had a better way of growing pumpkins, so I'm still learning how to grow, but I'm just using a very sketchy look. I have a pumpkin. I took a couple pictures of pumpkins, and so that was on my mind, and I was looking at a reference photo, which you can see right at the top here, and I'm just kind of enjoying my process of inking. Now, if I wanted to, I could spend a lot more time on this pumpkin, but the idea here is just to give you an idea of what I do with my energy washes with when I use different paints to just make fun little things. So now that I got that inked up, I'm going to get my palette out. I'm going to use Indian red again and that beautiful Hansa yellow, and I'm just going to get it all wet with that beautiful yellow. This is actually Quin Gold. Once I get some pigment on the paper, I decide really what color I want to use, and I just decided to do Quin Gold, quinacridone gold, and I believe that was from Daniel Smith. Alright, and now I'm just going to add some of that Indian red, and I'm going to clean that bit up a bit just to make it look more like a pumpkin. And then I probably call it good. That looks about right. I don't want to mess with it too much. I don't want to fuss with it too much. And then I will also add to the stem. And I decided just to make it kind of like a brownish stem, like you would see in a pumpkin patch. So there we go. And then once that's dried, I'm going to take the Bountiful Blessings from Tailored Expressions and stamp a sentiment. And I do it twice because I want a crisp image. And there we go. My next stop is I'm going to cut it, trim it, and put it on some pattern paper. And there's the finished product. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this